Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of BizMeds. We're your hosts. My name is Saad.
And I'm Darris.
And for today's episode, one of the most important things about being a business owner or being an entrepreneur is having a system for your business or whatever thing you're working on.
Why is that so important?
Because when you're not around...
What?
Yeah. So when you're not around, you want your business to be working. You don't want it to stop when you're not there.
Wait a minute. I thought the whole idea was having a business was that so you could own a job and you could be there all the time. That was the dream of being a business owner. That's the dream of having a business, is that you have no life. You just spend your time taking care of everything, that everything relies on you. That is the blessing of having a business and owning a business.
So for the viewers that have been around since episode 1 can pick up that this is sarcasm.
What?
For the ones that are new, thank you for joining us. But back to having a system. So everything he said, just the opposite of that. So
ask yourself, when I had the seizure to go into business and I had the great epiphany, the great aha moment, and the burning desire to want to go into business, what did you actually think it was? Why did you go into business? Was it so you could spend all of your hours taking care of everything? Was it so you could spend all of your time doing all the hiring? So you could spend all your time doing payroll. You could spend all your time going to find new work. You could spend time doing making the widgets that you make or delivering the widget service that you deliver. I'm going to guarantee you it wasn't, because what most people do is they had a vision for their life. Mm-hmm. And that vision was that they were going to have a lifestyle. There was going to be something that a business would enable. And the problem is, if you don't have that, you don't have a business, you have a leech.
Mm-hmm. And you are the bottleneck.
You are the bottleneck. You are the limiting factor in that whole thing.
So how does a business owner, I think the first answer is pretty much like very in your face. How does a business owner build a system and not end up being the problem of the business? Obviously, first, the reason why I said it's the answers in your face, you don't have a fixed mindset, you have a growth mindset.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, first and foremost, you have to be humble enough, check your ego to understand that, and please understand, this is not like it's an intentional thing, right? Mm-hmm. So we say this tongue in cheek. We say this because we understand it. We live through it. We work with business owners all the time. This is not, it's more to elicit in a response or some type of reaction in you to say, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I can recognize that. The whole idea is we want you to recognize that for the most part, it's not an intentional that you've become the bottleneck, right? Because we have all been there where we are just trying to do the best that we can with what we have. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just grab some baling wire, some duct tape, and some glue and some gum, and we just piece it together and, hey, that's going to hold it together for now. Mm-hmm. And somehow it sticks. And it stays around for a while. And that's what we use to fix the business. And it's not because you're a terrible person. It's not because you're bad or anything like that, right? A lot of it is out of necessity. Yeah. There does come a time where you have to make a better decision, or you have to make a different choice that, okay, the definition of insanity, as cliche as it is, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Like, to get a different result, you now have to think, act, behave differently. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is, yes, what is a growth mindset? And I don't think we really dive into this one. We haven't dove into this too much. is when we talk about growth mindset, it's the fixed mindset is you see a challenge as a problem, and things always happen, and you're the essential negative person all the time. Everything's bad. This is just the way it is. You externalize everything. Everything is done to you. You're the eternal victim. That is those are all really key signs that you have a fixed mindset. And just flip all that for a growth mindset. So, I see the problem as opportunities. I see the challenge as opportunity. It's okay. What am I here to learn? How can I do this differently? Those are more key things of having a growth mindset. And by the way, when I say that, you can have a growth mindset in one area of your life and have a fixed mindset in another area. So we're not just saying, oh, you're a growth mindset and that's across the whole thing. You need to understand that in some areas you can be very fixed growth, and some areas you can be very growth mindset or fixed mindset and growth mindset. And the idea is we want to expand that growth mindset as much as we can across all those things. Yeah. So that is, yes.
And for anybody that is looking for some type of literature that's going to help them, Darris has mentioned this book a few times. What Got You Here.
Oh, the others. Yeah, What Got You Here. Actually, 3 books.
Yeah.
One is Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. What Got You Here won't get you there. And number 3 is Mindset by Carol Dweck. Fantastic. Dr. Carol Dweck. In fact, all 3 are fantastic books. So Change Your Questions, Change Your Life is a really easy read. And it's essentially has a lot of the same principles. It talks about judger, judger and learner. Yeah. Being a judger mindset and learner mindset, or being the judger and the learner. And so it's essentially the same type of idea, but the storyline it's a much easier read, and challenges the way that it gives you very specific techniques to do that. What Got You Here, what got you here won't get you there is about those behaviors and those helping you shine light into the areas where you don't even realize that your behaviors are holding you back and from being better. Yeah. And the things that you do that you'll probably, once you read those 20, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I do that. I didn't realize I was doing that. And that has a very negative, that could have negative repercussions on things. And then that, sorry, before you talk about the last one, that one I mentioned, What Got You Here won't get you there, specifically because you made a comment about a lot of businesses, they'll just duct tape and tie a knot and hope that this works. That book specifically helps you focus on the skill of building something that as you're growing, you are now focusing on the areas that need work to be able to grow. Which is you.
Yes.
Right? So every level is going to help you get to another level. And then mindset with Dr. Carol Dweck is just the whole science and everything and mindset from all of those areas. Fantastic read. So I would definitely start with those if you're interested in getting a little more understanding.
Collectively, those would give you an inclination or an understanding how to start developing.
Oh, 1,000,000%. If you just had to pick one, I would say Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. 1,000,000%. I would just start with it because such an easy read, super quick, and the storyline is really easy to digest. Yeah. And there's a model in there that she provides to talk about.
Yeah. And that obviously opens your brain, which will automatically start helping you understand that what got you here will get you there, and open your mindset around.
And specifically, what got you here won't get you there is the idea that as you want to grow your business, that there's going to be added complexity, and how you deal with that added complexity is through systems. Mm-hmm. Because most, actually grabbing that tape right there. I know this is just for people that get to view online on YouTube. So if you're on Apple or Spotify or,
I'll try to narrate what it is that he's doing. He's pulling out the tape.
So picture this as a wheel, right? So it's a wheel, and at the very center would be the hub. Okay, right there, lined it up, middle of the hub. Most business owners put themselves in the middle, and they support the whole business, right? And the idea is that you actually have systems here that support everything. So from your product delivery, your all of the things, procurement, everything, all of that is driven by systems. All that's supported by systems. So everything. And then you as a business owner, when you say working on your business, you're actually working on those systems. You're working on those things that support the business to grow. And that's the idea behind it. And that's why systems, you have to replace yourself. Because at the very beginning, yes, we get it. Like you have to start somewhere. You don't come into a business and suddenly have all these systems that do everything. It's very thoughtful, purposeful, intentional work to find out what are the systems that you need to put in place. That is the work of working on your business, right? So how do I accomplish more efficiently with less energy and intensity of effort and things like that, right? So that's the idea of leverage also. So systems create leverage for us, allow us to do more that don't involve our time and energy, reduce redundancy, all that stuff. So when you think of your business operating as smooth, we want it to operate smoothly, right? If we're at the middle, we're the hub. If something happens to us, that whole thing falls apart and you don't have a business. You're just owning a job. I go back to that. I know I poked fun at it, and that was for dramatic effect. That's why that's the why of the systems are so important.
Yeah. So how does one go about building a system? What is kind of obviously that's a very vague question.
It is. I will say, I think the starting point for anyone is to read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And that, when I first read it, I was like, oh my God. I was probably early 20s. I was like 21 when I read The E-Myth. And that for me, because up until that point, like, again, I say this, it's only for context, that at that stage in my life, having helped run one of the largest privately held forestry companies in Canada, is when someone is able to put the words to what it is that you inherently are just kind of like doing, but you don't really know how to do and what you're doing, is the reason we were extremely successful is because we didn't really realize, but we had systemized a lot of the way we did the business, right? So how we went in and we systemized how we would actually plan and build our road system, map out our cut blocks, and then how we harvested the wood and did everything to then prepare it for planting and things like that. So everything was really systemized into, and then how to do that. And obviously there's your tactical things along the way, but we systemized things. And even when I was working on the machinery to like harvest, it was, okay, we had a system where, for those who don't know, like when you're chipping wood, you typically have two machines that are feeding this called a chipper. It's just a big machine, and one machine will pull close, the other one goes farther, and you just keep that thing going, and you build a system without even realizing it. Mm-hmm. And so when I read the E-Myth, I was like, oh wow, that was the starting blocks to understand, like, oh, checklists, right? Like there's a reason why pilots have checklists, right? So that they don't miss things. So like something as important as before you take off an airplane, like they go through a system of checklists to make sure everything is covered, that they're 100%, that everything is good to go. Something as simple like that can become a system. So when you say, what's the simplest way? One is to start developing checklists. Like that's the simplest form of starting to create a system, is the checklist of steps that things need to be done. Because once you start to do that, then you can start to say, oh,
step 2.
Yeah, well, I missed step 2, but like, why do we do all of these steps? Yeah. Can we condense some of these steps? Can we make these steps much faster? Yeah. And then you start to say, oh, can I use technology to take care of some of those steps? Or how can I automate those things? Yeah. But it starts really simply, like really simple way is to develop a checklist. And because that becomes, I think there's even a book on that. It's like, the checklist manifesto or something like that. Doesn't really matter. But the idea is that the really simple way to start developing a system is having a checklist. And for those of you who are hiring people in, you're like, oh, and you're trying to train and your training is really, really complicated, that's a problem. Yeah. So what you can do, another simple way to do is when you're hiring new people and you're quote unquote training them, what you do is you have them help build the checklist. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how to do this. What you're going to do is you're going to write this down step by step how you would do this. And you're going to put it in a Word document for me. And I'm going to look at it. And then now you're leveraging, that's how you can, I know I'm combining a few different things here, but for those who say, okay, well, great, here's a system, whatever it is, but if you don't have a system, how can I really leverage someone to help me do that? If you're hiring, you have someone coming in, you get them to help document what the steps are in those things, and you start to build that library of things, and then you can start to work on, oh, how do we make it better? And you ask them, oh, now that you've done this, is there any way that we could speed this up? Is there where are we wasting time and energy and duplicating effort and stuff like that? And then as you mature and as you start to, like, as I say, when you read the E-Myth and you start to get your first kind of taste around how to think in systems and things like that, then it'll start kicking the creative juices around, oh, we can do this better, or how could we do this better?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. This is why when we do the podcast together, there's a lot of things you're saying. I was like, oh, like when he takes a break, I'm going to add this. And then you add that yourself. I was like, all right, sweet. Like, we're just connected right now. Because, so what we've talked about this before, where when you actually like document and write things down, you kind of pull yourself out of like immediately just a hardwired way of doing certain things.
Yeah.
Now you can actually look at it. And I was just going to, again, talk about like when you have it documented, you can actually look back and see how you can improve those things. And when it's not something you're thinking about, it's something you're looking at and seeing how you can improve it. Yeah. It's not in your mind anymore. It's actually showing you how it's working. Yep. Then you can make those optimizations. You can change those. You can
ask yourself the question, where am I holding this up? Yeah. Where am I the bottleneck in this? And that will start to highlight where things are too dependent on you. So how do you either delegate that authority, not abdicate? Mm-hmm. Too many business owners abdicate responsibility. They just, oh, well, I told them to handle it. Mm-hmm. That is not delegating. That's abdicating. There's a big difference between the two. And so you have to make sure that you're properly delegating what the proper authority and permissions are, and then you are checking in on that. But the idea is, if you start doing that and you're looking at as a business owner, you're looking at first of, okay, where am I holding these things up? That is the first step in extracting yourself from those things in a meaningful way. And you will start to regain time and energy to do more important work. So Michael Gerber, in his book, The E-Myth, talks about Sally, and she makes pies, right? You might be the best pie maker, but you didn't get into business so that you would be on the front line making pies. Mm-hmm. That's not where your value is, right? Your value is bringing your pies to the world. And how do you create a system that does that consistently? Mm-hmm. And if you're stuck on the front line creating the pie, well, then who is doing the hard work and the valuable work of bringing your pies to the world? And I know that's a simplification, but it's the same thought process. If you are stuck continually doing the thing, then you are stuck doing the technician work, and that's not doing the more difficult work of being the entrepreneur and building the systems that support it, right? It's the build a pie or build a factory to build the pies.
Of course, yeah. You just kind of reminded me, so there's a business owner that we've kind of worked with, and he's looking to take his business online. You'll know who I'm talking about. He's looking to take his business online, and we were kind of just talking through on what his process is going to be for like delivering and shipping and all of that. And he's like, oh, I think it's going to take like 10 to 15-ish days for the product to be delivered. And me not really understanding the intricacies or whatever, I just kind of took it at face value. And then after a while, like when we were reviewing the procedure and how it's gone through, immediately I was like, well, why is it taking that long? Because there's no reason somebody's going to choose this compared to another business.
It's going to give it to them in 2 days.
In 2 days, exactly. And then you sit down with them and you figure out like, oh, well, I'm busy Monday to Friday, so I can actually only do it on the weekends. But then when you print the label on the weekends, I can't do it. I can't get it to a shipper in time. And then by the time they get it, they take 3 days. And then like, all right, well, the problem is, why are you printing it on the weekend? He's like, oh, I can't get to the printer because I don't have the printer at the shop. I'm like, first thing you could do is have the printer available so that whenever something comes up, you don't waste a lot of time.
And you could mass produce your labels in advance and give them to the shipper in advance.
In advance, exactly.
Right? Like there's all these things that could be done, like, but it's the mentality, right? It goes back to the first thing we talked about was a growth or fixed mindset, where you see things and you don't want to step back and say, oh, how could I be doing this different? How could, like, where am I the bottleneck in all of these things? Because if you're when we say you're the bottleneck, you are the bottleneck. And until you start looking at where you're the bottleneck, you'll continue to be that bottleneck.
Yeah. And again, you have to put the ego aside. You have to understand that, like, as a business owner, you have to be willing to learn and grow as your business is growing, because if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting to deliver on a much larger scale because it worked back when you first started.
Here's how this plays out, okay? You are a business owner and you think you know everything, or you are in a fixed mindset, right? Let's just say you hire this amazing person, me. And I come in and I'm like, oh my God, like I can like help you. Like we can do this so more efficiently. But because you are in a growth mindset, fixed mindset, because you're a fixed mindset and you will say no to all the things, right? There is no incentive for me to stick around and help anymore, because it doesn't matter what I do. The business will never grow past your mindset. And so I will leave. And that's exactly how that plays out. Anyone you hire to bring in, that may be a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
But because of your limiting beliefs, your behaviors and your actions, it will cause them to leave, because they will not want to stick around. They will probably have amazing ideas of how to help the business become so much more efficient. But because you're the limiting factor, they will leave. And what will happen is you will be stuck with all the people who have a lower thinking capability than you. And so that plays out just the way we said, that you are the limiting factor.
Yeah. I do want to give a little bit of credit to like business owners, because we're not saying that what you have been doing is wrong. It's just that you can improve. You can absolutely improve.
Yeah, this is about creating awareness, right? Because again, a lot of this is not, like we said at the very beginning of the episode, it's not intentional. It's like you show up and you're like, well, I'm going to be an asshole today and I'm just going to be closed-minded to everything. We fully recognize that you have a life experience that has brought you to this place. Mm-hmm. And everyone has their own knowledge, skill, and experience that has, molded together to bring them to a certain place. And just because maybe you have not been as fortunate because I look at myself, I'm extremely fortunate to grow up with an entrepreneurial father, entrepreneurial family, and I got to experience working in business from a very young age and forcing myself to work my way up. I consider myself fortunate, right? That I had my eyes opened and being able to at least see some of these things and be on the path, right? I fully recognize that that's not, like, everyone's not there. And so please understand, we're not saying that, like you said, we're not attacking you. We're not coming out and say you're a shitty person. That's not what we're saying. It's more, we're trying to drive home the point that this is the awareness that you need. You need to be able to see what you're doing, what your actions and your behaviors and your beliefs are causing, so that we can help you initiate a change in that behavior and that belief system and crack that open. Because until you do, you will continue to do the same thing and you will not progress to where you wanted to be when you had that moment where you said, I'm going into business because I believe in something. I believe I'm here to do something.
Reminds me a bit of a story that I was working this job a little while ago, and there's kind of like two different things to this. They were doing a lot of manual work, and I've shared this, where they had somebody just sitting there, 8 hours a day just plugging shit in, like, manually. And when I first joined, like, obviously I kind of just did it because I was like, yeah, you know what, like, I can understand it. Doing that, I had the appreciation of what it is that we're looking at. But very quickly after, I was like, all right, we got to automate this stuff. I understand what we're doing, but there's different ways we could do this. We have to automate it. This is stupid. The person that had been doing it for 15 years, their whole world flipped upside down. They're like, no, we can't do this. This is how it's always been done. There's a reason why we do it, is because then we can make sure that everything is being entered properly. But if it's automated, it's just pulling it and it's just bridging the gap.
There's no room for human.
Exactly. Error. Yeah. And this person wouldn't want to leave the office until 6 p.m. on the days that had to be done. And I was like, that makes no sense. So you're sitting from 1 p.m. till 6 p.m. to make sure that the data from one side to another side is going in properly. That just logically makes no sense to me. And they're like, no, this is how we've always done. We're not changing it. We can't do this. We're not changing it. So I still went ahead and like automated it and everything. And then the next time we came around to that issue, she still sat there all day looking at one thing, going to the other, making sure everything is going across. 2 months go by, finally has a time to like really understand that, oh, you know what? Like, I don't have to stay here till 6 p.m. and nobody else has to wait on me to make sure that everything was entered properly.
Yep.
Just automatically doing it.
Yep.
And to this day, still hasn't thanked me for it. And I'm not looking for a thank you. I'm just...
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for your service.
I'm not looking for a thank you, but it's just, it's one of the things, but when you're in that leadership position, you're going to lose that rock star if you're not listening to what they have to say or what they might be able to help you do. Yeah. Right? So,
yeah. And when you start to do that, when you start to listen, you have a growth mindset and you start to do the things, guess what? You actually lose a lot of your bottom performers because suddenly you are moving at a pace that they don't want a part of. And that is actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
We have digressed quite a bit. Thank you for your service.
Build a system. Yeah.
Build a system.
Yeah.
And the importance of having a system. And remember that if you are the system, that's not a system. You just own a job. And we don't, again, I'm not attacking you. We're just hoping to push you to the awareness of it's time to do things differently. Yeah. So with that being said,
thank you for tuning in, listening to this podcast. For those of you that don't know, we do have a masterclass. Darris spent a lot of time perfecting it, making it valuable, and it's free of cost. So please use the link below, register your email, and once we are sending it out, you will be notified for that.
Well, by the time this airs, it will be live. So all you have to do, sign up with your email. It's free. We would charge a lot of money for this, but we have taken upon ourselves to really just offer this completely free of charge because we want to invest in you, help you. And we know that Burnout to Breakthrough, it's a neuroscience backed masterclass to help you regain control of your life. And we don't say that tongue in cheek. It's really about actionable things. And when you go through that, you will have actionable and measurable difference in the amount of time and energy you have back in your life on a day-to-day basis. So if you haven't, sign up now, the link below. Find us on the interwebs. We're there.
The worst that's going to happen is you're 1% better.
Yeah, that's the absolute worst. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Saad's mom, thank you. I'm not thinking about, I'm just joking. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, Darris's mom.
And for those who've been with us from the beginning, those who just tuned in today to our ludicrous display, we thank you. And remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. That was really good. We will see you in the next episode.